Hi, good day. My name is Alphinity. I'm the Client Portfolio Manager at Alphinity Investment Management. Today I have Cairns with me. She's the head of our Responsible Investment team, and today we will be talking about a really interesting project that Jess and the team done recently on the apparel sector. So Jess, as responsible investors, we have our domestic sustainable share fund as well as our global sustainable share fund, and what we want to do there is invest in companies that align with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. One of the sectors that always raise a lot of questions in that field especially is the apparel sector. Tell us, why did you undertake this project that you've recently done and publish your note on today, and give us a bit of background. Tell us why, what challenges did you face and why did you do it?
Yes, no problem. Yes, apparel is what we call as a grey, it's in the grey. It's not an industry that is a hard exclusion like tobacco production, and it's not an industry that's clearly very green, like renewable energy or something. Really is in that murky space. And the challenge that we have is that clothing is of course a basic need, and that's something that everybody like ourselves need to wear on our day-to-day basis. But what it also does is uses a huge amount of resources and has a lot of human rights issues associated with it as well. And so what we try to do with industries like this is develop approaches and frameworks to help us work through what type of company within that industry would be suitable for our sustainable fund, and make sure that we can use the SDGs in a way to balance that positive and negative, and thinking about the overall kind of net outcome for a business.
So what were the steps taken? It's taken a few months. You've spoken to quite a few companies. Tell us, what were the steps that you've taken? What did you take into account when you did this research project? And then just broadly, what is included in that framework that you have to follow going forward?
So I think the first thing is sort of our starting point, or our base case for an apparel company is typically a net negative result. So what that means is that although most clothes have some sort of, as I say, basic need, issues to do with fashion cycles or overconsumption, sales and promotion means that a lot of those companies have more of a negative impact than a positive impact. And that negative is, as I say, through consumption and emissions. So what we did was start with that base case, and then thought about what types of scenarios could exist that would create more of that positive narrative. And we can give some examples in a moment. But what we did as part of this research as well is we also spoke to some peak industry bodies to better understand what the view is around the sustainability of apparel. So for instance, we spoke to the CEO of Seamless Australia about the sort of circular economy models and how we should think about certain retailers within that system. And then from there have developed an approach and set of assumptions that we could apply moving forward.
So if we pull that all together, what's the key outcome of your sort of research project, in the sense you looked at global companies, you looked at domestic companies? Give us some examples of what are those pathways for these companies to find their way into a responsible investment funds like ours?
Yes, it's really boiled down to quite simple outcome. I think it's really 4 pathways that we've identified. So the first one is affordability and access. So where you can have a company that is providing basic goods, so not just clothes, but basic goods at a really affordable price, really targeting affordability, that would be a suitable pathway and something that you can see. And that could either be from a market and end market perspective, or it could be the sort of model of the retailer. The second would be sort of purpose and utility. So for example, something like ASICS, which is one of our holdings, that is a company that is obviously has an element of fashion and an element of sort of consumption, but fundamentally is really to support healthy lifestyles and more active living. The third is business model circularity. So sorry about the lingo on that one, but really what that is supporting a more circular clothing model. So rather than every piece of clothing being developed from, virgin materials and then ending up in landfill, kind of creating models that helps to improve the kind of usability of those clothes across that life cycle. So Ross Stores is a company that we invested in off the basis of that as well, and that's what you call an off-market retailer. So essentially what they do is they take products which would have ended up in landfill, give it a second home at an off-market home, and allow people to buy those products at a much cheaper price than they would if they bought it, on trend or in cycle. And then the last one would be sustainable materials. So where you have a company that uses a lot of recycled content or something in their clothing, that would also be a fourth pathway.
Well, fantastic. Thank you very much, Jess. Very interesting. And for Jess's notes, please visit our website on alphinity.com.au. Thank you.
Thank you.